Hi guys, in this video we're going to be talking about a special type of foiling that's going to follow a specific pattern each time, so it kind of gives you a shortcut if you recognize the pattern. So that's why we're doing it. So this video is going to be one, and then there'll be another video that's a different pattern. So make sure that you watch that one as well later on when that comes out. So this one is a pattern called a difference of squares. And you'll see why once we've done the first example. So we're going to do number 2, and I'm going to show you what happens, and then we'll do number 4 using the shortcut that we learned by doing number 2. So when we hopefully we remember that when we FOIL or distribute, can call it kind of either. So when we distribute, we multiply this times this, and we multiply this times this, and then we multiply that times that, and that times that. Okay, so we're going to do that. And then we're going to look at the patterns that we notice, the things that we notice, and the pattern that's going on. And then we'll use what we learn in this one to do the next one. So P times P is P squared. I'm going to write it over here for the sake of space, right? So P times P is P squared. P times 3 is 3P, so that's plus 3P. Negative 3 times P is negative 3P. Negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. So we can simplify this by adding like terms. So we have positive 3 and negative 3. Well, positive 3 plus negative 3 is 0, right? And they both have P's, so I can combine them. So these end up canceling each other out. That would be 0P. So my final answer is just P squared minus 9. And now the name difference of squares might start making a little bit of sense, because notice this is one perfect square, and I'm subtracting another perfect square, so difference of squares. So here's the pattern then. So notice here I have the same thing in front and the same thing as the second term. So the first term's the same, the second terms are the same. The only difference is that one has a plus here and one has a minus here. So that's the pattern that's going to follow this difference of squares pattern. So if I have the same thing, except for one is positive and one is negative, then I have a difference of squares. So when I multiply this out, the middle terms are always going to cancel if it follows this pattern, and I'm going to end up with the first thing squared minus the second thing squared. So P squared minus 3 squared, which is 9. So using that knowledge, let's do number 4. So number 4, so 3n and 3n match, 7 and 7 match. The only difference is that one is plus and one is minus. It doesn't matter which one is plus and which one is minus. So notice this one, the plus is first, and the second one is the minus, and this one, the minus was first, and the second one was plus. That order doesn't matter. It can be either way. So this should follow our difference of squares pattern. In other words, if I did the multiplication out like I did on this one, the middle terms would cancel. So what I'm going to end up with is I'm going to end up with 3n squared minus 7 squared. So if I simplify that, I have 3 squared n squared minus 7 squared. So you don't have to do this middle step. I'm just being very specific and showing what's happening here. So we have 9n, nope. I mean, we do have 9n, but that's not what I wrote. We have 9n squared minus 49. And that's our final answer. So in number 6, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it faster this time. So I'm just gonna, I noticed that this follows my pattern. I have the same thing. The only difference is plus and minus. So I know it's gonna be a difference of squares. So I'm just gonna square the first one. So 2 squared is 4. And then you're gonna have an n squared. There's always a minus in the middle. And 2 squared is 4. So that's my answer. So if you can do that in your head, that's great. Just go ahead and straight to the answer. You don't have to do this middle step. But if you get confused, go ahead and do this middle step. So that's how the difference of squares distributing pattern works. So anytime you see this pattern, that's going to follow that difference of squares. So on this worksheet that I'm looking at right now, these look like they all follow it. This one doesn't, right? This is a different pattern. This is the pattern that we're going to talk about next time. So this is the difference of squares pattern. This is not, right? So we'll talk more about this one next time, but just to show you that not all of the questions on this worksheet is going to follow the pattern we talked about today. Some of them will follow the pattern that we're going to talk about next time. So keeping that in mind, you can go ahead and get started on this worksheet. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will see you in the next video.